So I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. So today, Brendan Shear, the president of the school, is going to be in LA. On Thursday, Sherry and I will be there with Nolan Bushnell.
Okay. I'm going
Okay, so
because the students were wondering now what time are you guys going to be here about?
we'll be there about 9.
About 9 on Thursday.
We'll be there about 9. I'm not sure what time he'll be there, but it will be before lunch. And we're going to do our best to find out exactly what time he's going to be there, and I'm shooting for 10.
Okay.
So anybody that wants to have people, great. They can do that. So I kind of got the impression that some people thought that even though we had talked about him being there last week, that he was going to be there and that we just weren't talking about it anymore. Was there anybody like that?
Yeah, they were wondering, and matter of fact, this morning we were talking about it, and I told them I'd make it a point to speak to you about it today, and you brought it up, so great.
Okay. All right. So the important thing to know is if it's tentative, it'll be unclear. Once things are clear, once they're not tentative, they'll be made crystal clear. And what people should do is if you have a question, ask the question. Good employees ask good questions. Bad employees wait for somebody else to ask the question. Now, what's everybody looking at on their screens?
Maps.
Okay, but what are you looking at on your maps right now?
A blank page.
Huh? What?
Of course.
Okay, this is the time to be looking at me. Not your maps, because we're not doing maps right now. This is important stuff for work. Because I've been noticing here, when I say, does anybody have any questions, nobody has questions. No, that's not true. Because when I ask people questions, most people don't have answers. So there's a disconnect if students don't have questions, but when I have questions, they don't have answers. And usually what happens is people are afraid to ask questions, or they're waiting for other people to ask questions. So just know this. If you have a question, probably at least 5 other people are thinking the same thing. The good employee is the person who has the balls to say, hey, can you clear something up? I've got a question. Can I ask you a question? That's what the good employee does, because all bosses know that employees are not clear, which is why they're the boss and the other people are not the boss. Good supervisors, good bosses want to bring their people below them up to be as high as they can be in the organization. Good people do. Bad supervisors want to keep people down. They want them to make themselves look good. So good supervisors want to pull people up to be the best they can be, but what the employee has to do is they have to engage. Because supervisors know or believe most people don't really care, and it's hard to know the difference between somebody who cares and somebody who doesn't care if both act the same, right? Would you agree with that? If a good employee acts the same as a bad employee, how do you know who the good employee is? How would you know, Jesse? It's hard to know. It's hard to know. And this, even though it's called Larson Training, even though we're licensed as a school, don't think of this as a school. This is preparation for employment. The state of Nevada grades us as a school based upon placement. Who gets jobs? They don't care if anybody learns anything. They couldn't care less whether anybody learns anything. They only care about people getting jobs. This is for vocational schools, post-secondary schools. So most schools kind of teach some things. They treat people not like adults, and they say, we're going to help you. We're going to find a job for you, because that way our statistics are good. If we know if we get you a job, our statistics are going to be good. But it's not really in the best interest of people, because they're not doing stuff they want to do. It's just a job. They go home at night saying, my job sucks, but I can't afford to quit. And then when they become 50, 60, 70 years old, when it's too late, they have a life that they regretted. When I was in law school, one of the things they teach you as an attorney is for most people, life is a tale of regret, which is that black poster over there. And that one right there. For most people, life is a tale of regret. They regret the things they did, and they regret the things that they didn't do. Okay? Now is the time we have to break those habits. So, good employees are people who engage, they ask good questions. And you need to just have confidence, whatever question you have, somebody else is thinking the same thing. Okay? What's not good are bad questions. What's not good is if you start a question off by an apology. Or, anybody here remembers Eric, you get into this big long discussion before he asks the question, right? Remember that? Just say, hey, let me ask you a question, or please clarify this, I'm not quite clear on this, boom, question. So, important stuff, we do housekeeping. Nolan is going to be in LA on Thursday, we're going to be there on Thursday. Now, another important thing, good employees don't get upset when someone is making a presentation and they use profanity.
Why do you say that?
Why do I say they don't get upset? Because you can't control the other person, how they speak.
Oh, okay, and that, okay.
Okay? You can't control the person. If I let you upset me, who has power? If I let Mike upset me, who has power? Mike. Why would I want to give Mike power over me? Right? Why would I want to do that? Okay? So we did an experiment with Peter Anthony last week, a different experiment, but it came back to me very clearly that some people were offended by the way he spoke. Okay? So you just have to recognize that's him. Okay? There's not any reason to get upset or have your blood pressure go up or make value judgments about people like that. If you do that, you're going to be very unhappy because people aren't going to rise to your level, your standards. Just don't, okay, hey, you know, that's the way he is. I don't speak like that, is the attitude you should take. I don't speak that way. But for people that speak that way, they believe that's how they need to speak to get the message across to the people they're talking to. He was very happy when he left here, and he felt he made connections, and the messages I got back were that people here were very appreciative of what he was saying. My hunch is the people who said, man, this is the best speaker we've ever had, didn't care at all about his vocabulary, right? Okay. Besides Lisa, anyone else offended by his speech? And it's okay that you're offended, but you shouldn't let him upset you.
No, I don't feel upset. I don't
Okay.
feel upset about it. I just feel like, oh wow, you know, that for me was really different.
Yeah, and that's a way to take it. Now, he is successful in what he does, but he chooses to talk to a particular group of people. Just like on TED Talks, they choose to speak to a particular group of people. Tony Robbins had some profanity. He's not back. They probably said, you know, you can't speak that way on TED. And he said, I don't need TED. I'm very happy doing what I do. But on the TED Talk he's on, there's profanity in there. And they might not have invited him back. Maybe they did invite him back and he just couldn't meet a schedule. I don't know, whatever it was. But for TED, for the audience that they have, they don't speak that way. But I'm pretty sure in the underground revolution, that's exactly how he communicates with the people who are part of the underground revolution. And you just have to take the approach of, you know, obviously I'm not part of his group. Doesn't resonate with me. Or if it does, okay, great, it does. But, you know, your speech should match the people you're with. As my grandfather from Missouri said, if you want to communicate with the jackass, you have to speak its language. Okay? It's not going to speak your language. So if Peter Anthony was talking that way to a TED Talk audience, and they applied the, if you want to communicate with the jackass, you have to speak its language, he wouldn't be communicating clearly with his audience, right? Because they don't speak that way. But in the underground revolution, the people that he deals with, which are primarily people who have a license to cut hair. And that's a great business. You can do that anywhere in the world if you get your license. You can always make money if you're good at cutting hair. But a lot of people who cut hair are not, or could be like our students. You know, that could be, we're trying to get him to do classes with us. You know, they're not people with college degrees. They're not people with science degrees. These are housewives, people maybe who have felony, people who are, or whatever, and they like people, they like cutting hair, and they're good at it. It's, you know, in some ways it's being artistic. And what he teaches them to do is to be successful business owners. Because if you cut hair, what are you really? How does it work? Cutting hair, mostly. You rent a chair, right, or a spot, whatever they call it. You rent that, you have to pay the owner of the salon to have your thing. Did everybody know that? That's how the hair cutting business generally works. You got to pay for that spot. Well, what Peter Anthony has found out is this whole market for people who are good at cutting hair, but they don't know how to promote their business, run their business, advertise. They don't know how to build their business to be something good and strong. And so he has tailored his approach to that. So this would be a good lesson. If you find yourself getting upset by somebody's speech, what should you do, Lisa? What should the alarm bells go off? Your what alarm?
I mean, what
your
are the
phenomenology.
Reasons, what are the reasons behind it?
Well, your phenomenology thing should go off. Huh? Why am I getting upset by this guy's language? I can't control his language. I can be rude and walk out, or I can, you know, make a statement, walk out, or I can just let it not bother me. You know, maybe he doesn't know any better. Maybe he thinks, maybe he's not even talking to me. When I was in prison, they would have people, religious people come in, and one guy said, you know, the room full of people, he said, I'm only talking to 3 people in here. And if I'm talking to you, you're going to know that I'm talking to you because my message is going to get across to you. For the rest of you people, I'm not talking to you. So if you don't care about what I'm saying, if you're just here because you don't want to be in your cell, if you're only here for the free coffee or whatever, that's okay. I'm only talking to 3 people. Now that was a very good technique. Why? Why was that a good technique?
Everyone's listening to see if they're one of the 3.
Yeah, people are wondering, am I one of the 3? And if they liked it, they wanted to be one of the 3. And so people were paying attention, and he just kept repeating that. So that's a thing to think of. Okay, so maps. So here, how many people did a second map? Okay, 1, 2. Okay, so that was good practice, right? Kind of like learning it over, but a lot easier than the first time. All right. So for the people who it's their first time doing maps, they've already been through maps, but you didn't do a second map. Okay. So for the people who this is your first time doing maps, this should be your last personal map for the rest of your life. And when we're doing Google Apps, you should think of this as this is something you're starting that you're going to continue forever, because Google will continue to give you more space. So your Google Drive, you should set your Google Drive up, and you should believe this Google Drive that I have, I am going to keep adding to this forever. My contact list, I'm going to keep adding to this forever. My Gmail thing, I'm going to keep adding to forever. My YouTube, I'm going to keep adding to forever. When you graduate from here, just change your password. You know, speaking to the people at Casa Grande. When you get out of here, just change your password and keep the account. because the notes that you have on TED Talks, the quizzes that we do, those things are really designed for you to go back and look at that stuff later. Okay, we don't just ask our questions on Stoicism or how did it affect you because I care how it affected you. We do it so that later you can go back when you're thinking about something, Stoicism, yeah, I remember I liked it, but I can't remember why. You can go back and you pull out the things that were important to you. And your memory will come back like that. So you should think of all of these Google apps as with this account you have, you're going to keep it forever. So this week we're doing maps, and you should think of this is my map that I'm going to have forever. I think now you can have 5 layers on maps. It used to be, is it 5, Velvet? Okay. Last year it was 3. Before that it was a different way, they did maps differently. Now it's 5. It'll probably be 7, 10, whatever in the future. So the point is you can start with your map. We're only doing 3 layers. You can add 2 more layers in the future. But probably you'll be able to add many more layers in the future, but this is a map that you would want to keep forever. And so on your personal level, you have a layer that's personal, right? We talked about yesterday what could go on that personal layer. So what I would suggest is you don't ever take stuff off your map. You just make it like sort of, I'll call it inactive. Like change the color of the things to black. And just in your mind, black means I don't go to that store anymore. I used to go to the store. I don't go to that store anymore. But someday you might want to go back and look at whatever notes you have or whatever you have for that store. What happens if you deleted that off your map? Yeah, it's now you got to go find it again. But if you still have that on your map and you have notes there and maybe you have a video or you have whatever you have there, you'll be able to go back and see what you have for that account. The most successful people in life are people that have very large social networks. So as an extreme example, who can the President of the United States call?
Anybody.
Anybody, exactly. He can call anybody. Why? Because he's the president. Okay? Because he's the president. What happens when he gets out of office? Who can he call? Anybody. He can call anybody because of who he was. But if he wants to call anybody, what does he have to be able to call anybody? Yeah, he's got to have some way to get a hold of them. So that's an extreme example. For us, every time we run into somebody, anytime we have information that we think I want to remember this, we should add it to our contacts, add it to circles, add it to Gmail, add it to our map, add it to our calendar, add it to something, add it to one of those things. If we think we're going to want to know it in the future, we should grab it and keep it. And like I said, maps is the best tool because we are genetically programmed to be very good at mapping things out and getting from one place to another. We're very good at that. Now, some people are not as good, right? But genetically, we are. We don't, you probably don't have many problems getting home, right, Gina?
Sometimes.
Okay. So most people, they don't forget where they live. Okay, most people, they might not know the best way to get there, but they know because genetically we are programmed to be good at creating maps. There's huge parts of our brain that are built around all kinds of maps. Like you go into a room, your brain builds a map of that room. Okay, here's where I can walk, here's the tables, there's the doors, there. It just does it automatically. We're very good at that. So using maps to help remember important information is a great thing. My hunch is if I talk about your personal maps, at least by Thursday, when I say your personal map, a picture will go off in your brain that somehow represents to you your map. It might be the map with push pins on it. It might be that. It might be something else, but maps are a great way to remember things. Okay, so any questions in California? Because we're going to talk about building the maps and creating the layers. The microphone is turned off.
Yeah, we're here. Yeah,
Okay.
we're ready to get to it.
Okay, so you're ready to get to the maps.
Yep.
Okay, so what do we do first to create a map? Desmond, what's the first thing we do?
Open maps.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Open maps, right. Okay, then what? What's the next thing? Several people in here have maps. What do you do to create a map? Huh? What pops up when you launch maps? A map of the U.S., right? Okay. So what do you need to do?
In the box, you need to put in the location.
Okay. So that's one way to do it. That's certainly one way.
Or if you have a map already made, you can click on the.
Well, let's say you don't have a map.
Okay.
Oops. Okay, you don't have a map. I'm going to go to maps. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so how do I get to maps?
You can go to your grid.
Okay, good. Go to the 9-square grid, click on maps, right? And so then I come to page here. Now my default is set up for where I am, not the whole United States. So this, you can't see it there, but on my map, it has a little dot of this is where I am. And guess where that is? That's right here.
Mine's separate too.
Okay. So you really kind of want to have it that way. So now, does everybody have a thing over here below the Omni bar, the search bar, that says My Maps? Okay, so you should have that if you have a map. If you don't have a map, I don't think you have that.
No, we do. I don't have a map.
Okay.
It says my map.
Okay, good. So if you click on that, what happens? If you click on My Maps, what happens? Okay, so you have a drop down, and it shows the maps you have, and what else does it show? Create. So for people who have not created a map, you click on what? Create. And then what happens? Okay. Now here's an interesting thing to notice. You notice above the map there was a black ribbon, a black bar. This is how it used to be in Google. You didn't have the 9-square grid on the side. It used to have a black ribbon across the top that has the different things. Calendar, sites, drive. That's how it used to be. So this is going to disappear at some point. They're going to stop having that black ribbon on the where the bookmark bar is. Okay, so the first thing you do once that map pops up is what? What would you guess? Okay, so we do it in all things with Google, with any Google app. So the first thing you always want to do is give it a title, right? So it says untitled map. So always just get in the habit. If the same thing, if you create a document, white page pops up for documents. The first thing to do is give the document a title, give it a name. So this map should be, you would probably want to put your name, and it might be map number 1 or some master map, something like that.
Where are you figuring?
Can I read the personal map?
You could say that. You know, what you want to think of is, so if you click on where it says Untitled Map, a box pops up in the middle of the screen. It says Edit Map Title and Description, Map
Edit.
Title.
Edit
Okay.
layer name?
Huh?
Does it say edit layer name when you have a map, and when you don't have a map, it says something else?
Well, when you start with no map and you create a map, the first thing you want, it does say add layers, but what you want to do first is up at the top of that box, you want to make sure you give it a title. And what I want you to think of for this map is this is your master map that you're going to have for the rest of your life. You're going to have it for 20 years. You're just going to add to it, and things, instead of pulling them off the map, you're just going to turn them black or something. You're going to have some code to yourself that you're going to turn them some color that you're not going to care about, and that's the past. So you call it something, and then you give it a description, because you might end up having 50 maps in the future. Don't feel you need to remember stuff. You know, when they put a thing in there that says description, you should use it, even though today you're thinking, I don't need to write a description because I know what it is. 6 months from now, you might not remember what the purpose of that map was. And so what I'm saying is you should think of this as the map that you're going to have for the rest of your life. So I'm just going to call mine Director Master Map V1A, version 1A. And I'm saying sample map created on May 12, 2015. And then I save it. So now I have a map. What do I want to do next?
See where it's at.
Hmm?
What is it? See where it's at. Yeah.
Say where it's at. Okay. So I think what I want to do is I want to add my 3 layers to the map. So how do I add a layer?
Says add a layer.
Add layer, right. It says add layer. And then it says untitled layer, right? So I click on that, a little box pops up, and now I create a layer. So I would say personal. Okay, anybody lost? Okay, you're lost, Gina? Okay, Jesse, are you lost? Can you help Gina, please? Now you notice beneath it, it says import. Anybody see that?
Yeah.
Anybody not see where it says import? Okay, so this is where I think Monica asked the question yesterday, can I add a list of places to it? And that's where you do it. You import places. You can either add them by hand or you can import them. You start with the spreadsheet. And that's how you import. And what's the second thing I do? Create another layer. Right.
Add places to this layer.
I don't need to do that right now.
Okay.
Okay? So it's easier to build the structure. Think of it like building a house. You don't build it from the ground up room by room. You build it, you know, you build the foundation, then you build the walls, then you put the roof on, and then you put in walls and you do all that. Okay, so next layer would be, say, employment. Okay. And then I want to push add layer and add another layer. Okay. So then I can have, and like I have on the board, you can see that it has a place for 3 layers. And I name my last layer school. Now here's an important thing to know. How do you add things to a particular layer? So you want to make sure for your personal layer that you're adding things to the personal layer, not some other layer. And this is a place where people oftentimes make mistakes. They start putting stuff on the map, and oops, I didn't want it on that layer. So how do you know what layer you're on? No, not by the title. How do you know what layer you're working on?
Blue bar on the left side.
Right, thank you, Phyllis. There's a blue bar on the right side. It's over here. So you click on the layer you want, and you'll see the blue bar go to that. That means that's the active layer. Now the other thing you can do is you can uncheck the layers that you don't want. So you only then show one layer. So I just unchecked the top two layers, and now I'm down to one. But over here, it has the names of my layers. So it's kind of like the calendar feature where you can have multiple calendars, and whichever ones you have activated, you can see. Otherwise, they disappear. And so for people who haven't had calendars, don't worry about it. It will make sense when we get there. When we get there, I'll say it's like when we did maps. So here, the one layer I have activated is school. So let's just go with school right now. So the thing to do is put in the address for the school, which is what? What is our address here? 727 East Fremont. Las Vegas. Okay. So you enter that where?
And your omnibus.
Right, exactly. And then you push click, and then what happens?
It goes up underneath school. Does
Okay.
it not?
So it should be, you should have your map, and it has, mine is green. What color is your balloon?
Green.
Green, red. Okay, so you have a little balloon where that location is. Did that add it to the map? No.
Yes, it did.
No, it's on the map, but it's not added to the map. So now you have to click on it, and when you click on it, what happens?
Details. Wrinkle.
And what's in the lower left corner?
Add to map.
Add to map. Okay? So this is an important thing to note. So let's say you have a business that's you sell pepperoni. You sell pepperoni to pizza parlors. So what you put in the search bar is what? You want to know where all the pizza parlors are to sell pepperoni to. So what do you put in the search bar? Pizza parlors. And what's going to show up are all kinds of pizza parlors. They're not added to the map, they're just on your map. So you see all these places, and you add them as you want to add them. Otherwise, what happens is if everything automatically went on your map, you'd have places on the map that you didn't want to have, right? So in the search bar, you enter the place you want, or you enter the general thing, and then you can add it to the map. Now, has everybody done that? Anybody not done that? Anybody need help? Okay. Now, what happened to the color? It changed to red, right. Okay. Now, click on it again. Now that it's red, click on it again. What's in the lower right-hand corner? What's in the lower right-hand corner? The box pops up. What's in the lower right-hand corner of the box?
Trash can.
Trash can. What else?
Some sort of arrow and a
An
pen.
arrow. That's for directions. And what else?
Pen. And a pencil.
Okay, there's a pencil. Okay. So there's a pencil. Let's click on the pencil. Now, what can we do? Right, so as Velvet said, you can change the name from the address to what it is. So you would say Larson Training Centers.
I can read the address and put the name down below.
You can do that, but over on the left, when you start getting locations and you start adding things, it's easier to keep track of things if you have the name of it as opposed to the address, right? Because we don't normally remember things by their address, we know them by their name, right? So if I say, Jesse, what's your favorite pizza parlor? You don't say 3215 4th Street, right? You say Rocco's Pizza, right? You don't like pizza.
Oh, I do like
Okay.
I love these.
So now, and then in the box below, you can put the address, you can put whatever you want. Okay. So in the box below, I put the address.
Yeah, you want it to do personal and then
And then I could put other details. Can I put a web page in there? Okay. I can put a website in there. What happens if I do? Right. So it becomes an active link.
I'm not sure where you no, I didn't see because I don't see
I can put any URL. Song, if there's anything I want, I can save it in that description.
the book is correct.
Okay.
The red book.
Now over on the left, where I have the layer, my school layer that's active, what now is also in that layer box?
So, individual styles.
Below that,
Now what are you going to do?
what's below it?
Add it to your map.
It says whatever I call that location.
That's what you want to do.
And if you add locations to your map, they'll do that.
That's how
Okay,
that's
so let's put in another one. Let's type in the search bar Italian American Club. The search bar, type in Italian American Club. After you do Italian, it might come up a choice and says East Sahara. Okay, so put that in. Do the same thing, click on it, add it to map, click again, edit it. Okay, so it has the name there. Good. Okay, so that is the school. We produced this magazine for the Italian American Club. And everybody's going to start doing something. There's a restaurant there. Yeah. No, John Sahara. Okay, now it automatically has their phone number and their website. It has 3.8 stars. Okay. Close the box. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you the power of over on the left side. If I want to go back to the school, all I have to do on the left is click on the school. So again, we're talking about this box over here. As you start adding things to your layers, they're going to show up in that layer. If you want to go to one of those accounts, all you have to do is click on the name of that location. And it will take you to that spot. So you can imagine if you have a map with several hundred dots on it, and you're not sure which is the one I'm looking for, over on the left, if you recognize the name, you click on it right there. Now, what if I click on the, I have this open up, so I'm going to click on the arrow thing. On the trash can, I'm going to click on the arrow. This one over there. Because I want to get directions to the Italian American. Or I want to get directions. But I'm on here. So if I click on Italian American Club, what did it do? Okay, what happened to my screen? So I opened up Larson Training Center. I clicked on the direction button. Right. Created a map. It shows on my map now how I get from here to there. Got your map built, and you start adding all the places that you go to, and you have your smartphone. Life gets to be very easy of how do I get from wherever I am to any place that's on one of my maps. Yes.
Okay, so when I'm clicking on it, it's asking me who's A, and of course I'm going to be Italian American.
Okay, so just click on the other location. Whatever it says in B, if it says Larson Training, if it says B's the Italian American Club, okay. So click on the balloon up above or the Larson Training Center. And it will put it in that box for A. Did it do that? Did you do it?
I clicked on the button, but the button I clicked on was Italian American Club. That's where I was at.
Okay, so you didn't want to click on that one. You want to click on the other location. So just click on the other location. Well, so you go to one of the locations and you click on the directions button. Okay. And then you click on the other. Okay, how are you confused? Go through it again. Okay. So what is the thing? So go to your school layer.
Another way to do it, but not the way you know.
Okay.
I think I did.
Okay, so we're going to do it this way first. So you go to the layer, click on Larson Training Center. Okay? The box opens up. Click on the screen. And in the lower right corner, click on the button that says Directions to Here. And then you'll see over on the left, a little window opens up. And you click on the other location. So B is Larson Training Center. So click on A, and it will draw a map. It'll show you how to get there. Now, Ed, what is below the B? Well, applications on what? Click on the directions. Right there. So,
No, I don't have
Adding all the decimals. That's the easiest way to where they rely upon your brain to figure out what's the best route. There are other add-ons that you can do that don't try to figure it out. Here, this is what it assumes, okay, you're going to figure out what's the best way to get there. And you're looking at a map, right? So you see all the places you want to go. So you can figure out which one you want to go to first. And you can change it. Now the other thing you can do is you can move, you can grab a hold of these. Click on it, that's what you can drag. Yeah. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff if you want. So, okay, we've got 1 minute left. Anybody have any questions?
So this map will be in my.
It saves automatically. Right. Now, when you go back in now, it's going to make you replace it with my maps. It's going to see you go to your search now. You can make a map.
Okay, Dennis, any questions?
Any questions here?
This is completely compatible with the phone, right?
What was it?
Joe wants to know it's compatible with the phone. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yes.
If I use it on mine.
They have a little streamlined version, but you can import you can use your maps from your phone.
Yes, you can. Right. But other than that, I think we're okay.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. We'll see
Okay,
you.
bye.